Arrakis, Dune, desert planet. The three names for the planet where the spice melange is found. A very addictive, a very important spice within the Dune universe from Frank Herbert. Now, I read the first 6 books by the original author, Frank Herbert, and I adored them. When Dune Part 1 came out back in 2021, I was really excited, absolutely enthralled. I watched it with some friends and I had some qualms about it. Despite its high production, despite the wonderful acting, the scenes, man, the music as well, I looked and went, because if you've read the books, you've already had the spoilers. But if you also read the books, you know where this is going to go. And there were some things that I think that should have been dwelt on a bit more or expanded on, because with the hype with Dune Part 2 coming out, and if these movies do good, I assume that the companies behind them will want to produce more. So if we know, or the book readers know where the end is, how will they work around it to have all these important aspects into the future or potential future Dune movies? If you have watched Dune Part 1, the overall story from book to film is essentially the same. The House Atreides has been commanded by the Padishah Emperor, Shaddam IV, to take over the fiefdom of the planet Arrakis, previously held by the House Harkonnen. Simple setup, yes, but there's history, there's lore, there's plans within plans. And that is all you're getting. Past here, there will be a spoiler warning because I will be mentioning future books and future ideas in the Dune series. Allow me to start with some of the more lighthearted items before diving further into the Dune saga. First thing I'd like to touch on is the pronunciation. Pronunciation of the names in the film were different to what I remember reading in the books. For example, Padishah Emperor. That's how I said it before. In the film, they said Padishah. Similar with the Harkonnen family. The House Harkonnen, that's how I say it. But in the film, they say Harkonnen. I'm not sure if it's because the director wanted to take his films on a slightly different route. It's already quite distinct from previous adaptations of Dune, but I also find it interesting how possibly an explanation of how the English language has changed in space. Next. The spice melange. It's not just for navigation. In Dune Part 1, Paul Atreides is researching his new home, Arrakis, and with that it is specified that spice is essential for the working of this universe, because of the Guild Navigator's dependence on it to navigate throughout space. Well, spice is not just for that. The spice melange is essential for many of the workings in this galactic empire, which is not touched on in Dune Part 1. Few products escape the Chom touch, the Duke said. Logs, donkeys, horses, cows, lumber, dung, sharks, whale fur. The most prosaic and the most exotic. Even our poor pundi rice from Caladan. Anything the guild will transport. The art forms of Ikaz, the machines of the Richesse and Ix. But all fades before melange. A handful of spice will buy a home on Tupil. It cannot be manufactured. It must be mined on Arrakis. It is unique and has true geriatric properties. In the book, the spice melange heightens awareness, expands the mind, and extends life. The Guild Navigators consume spice to traverse through space. The Mentats consume spice to expand their mind for calculations. The Bene Gesserit consume spice for heightened control over themselves and others. The spice allows the Emperor and the noble houses of the Landsraad to extend their lives. A poison so subtle, so insidious, so irreversible. It won't even kill you unless you stop taking it. Paul Atreides. The gentry, the noble houses, Bene Gesserit, the Guild and Mentats, they require and are addicted to spice. If more films are made, or possibly some spin-offs, how will they explain their reliance to spice for the rest of those characters? If more movies are to be made, how will they explain the control that the God Emperor has because of his tight grip supply on spice? Next, the Lady Jessica. She is a formidable force in the Dune series. Let me explain. It was generally accepted now that the Lady Jessica's latent abilities were grossly underestimated. Analysis. The Arrakeen Crisis by the Princess Irulan. Lady Jessica is a concubine to Duke Leto. Not wife, concubine. She is also a Bene Gesserit, and her instructions are to bear daughters for the Bene Gesserit and their cause. Compared to her book counterpart, in the film, the Lady Jessica comes off as an emotional wreck. Admittedly, I think this is an artistic choice because throughout the Dune series, you get a lot more inner monologues, inner thoughts from each character, which doesn't translate that well to film. The best example I can think of here, in the film anyway, is when Lady Jessica is outside as her son is being tested by the Reverend Mother. You see her cry, you see her falter, but in the book, she's feeling all of that, but does not show it. She does not show it because it'll blow her cover as a Bene Gesserit agent. She's doing all this testing and being called away by the Reverend Mother in secret. She's controlling her emotions so the staff do not question her. And she's controlling her emotions because that is what the Lady Jessica does. She is a Bene Gesserit sister and very much in control of herself and has ways to manipulate others as well. As I said, the Lady Jessica is a formidable force. How little he knows me. I was my Duke's only woman. I accepted his life and his values, even to defying my Bene Gesserit orders. In the movie, it seems that her reasoning for producing a son from this line was that she could be the mother, the one who birthed the Kwisatz Haderach. When in the book, there's mention of it, but that's not the real reason to why she had a son. Why she had a son was because of love. The Bene Gesserit, with practice and of course use of spice, are able to control themselves fully. So it's been hinted before that the Bene Gesserit can choose the sex of their child. Did Lady Jessica make it happen, or did she allow it to happen, where she would produce a son for her Duke? Now, in the film, if you're just doing one film, maybe a few, you can get away with the fact that the Lady Jessica would have ambitions of being the mother of the Kwisatz Haderach. But in the book, if you've read the first 6, her actions, her disobedience to the Bene Gesserit has ramifications much further down in the storyline, where the Bene Gesserit, from Jessica's mistake, they have decided to implement some new rules to make sure that something like this never happens again. The children that they want to keep track of, or keep track of their lineage, the mothers give birth to the child, and the child is given away to a foster family, so the connection between mother and child, or even mother and spouse, is severed. And then when the child is of a certain age, the sisterhoods send their people around to gather the child and indoctrinate them in their way. So, if Lady Jessica in the film only has ambitions to be a grand person here, not for love, if more films are made, or if spin-offs are made, how will they explain that reasoning further down with the Bene Gesserit? Denis Villeneuve, the director of Dune Part 1 and Part 2, has taken on this massive challenge of taking a well-known and well-loved science fiction book series, transforming it into the film. Not easy. And of course he's going to face some scrutiny. Come on. And as a book lover, of course, I think it's also my job to pick on them. My biggest concern here is that the Dune book series, if you've read past the first one, you know that book 2 just gives you hard whiplash. It's crazy. It was not going where I thought it was going to go. These books have been completed. Frank Herbert passed away shortly after I think his 6th book was done. So first 6 series, his books, they're finished and won't be any more from him. It's not like the Harry Potter series where the movies were being filmed while J.K. Rowling was still finishing her writing. So I can see why the directors would be unsure. Do we keep this character? Do we get rid of that one? With this series, we know how it starts and we know how it ends. So if any more films or spin-offs that are going to be made, will they connect the dots? Or how far will they connect the dots along this science fiction series? I'm still very excited to watch Dune Part 2 when it comes out, and I'm going next week. So I'll have a look at that, and probably have another scrutinizing video about how he did, and possibly combine Dune Part 1 and Part 2, and compare it to the book. Well, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Good night.